everybody? Welcome to Capital Combat. The name says it all. I'm Hakeem Branch.
Rob Jarrell.
And today we're going to recap the Ruslan Provodnikov-Chris Algieri match that happened this past Saturday, June 14th, and discuss the fallout, what we thought beforehand because we didn't get a chance to do our own preview video. So we'll give our before fight thoughts, our doing thoughts, and our after thoughts. So take it away, Rob.
All right, so Chris, the fighting collegian Algieri from New York, was a mainstay on Friday night fights. That's where I mostly saw him fight. I just like, oh, this guy Algieri, I think I started watching him at like 13 and 04. It was down the line. It was kind of early in his career. And I was like, who is this guy? He's another pretty boy, but he was, to me, he was nothing special. He just kept winning, so you kind of had to pay attention to him. He's a former kickboxer, champion kickboxer in ISKA, and there's another one, WKA or WSK or something like that. Whatever. He's a kickboxer, champion level at welterweight and junior welterweight. So the guy has a fighting pedigree. Not only that, but he has a master's in nutrition, so we know he's coming in shape. And he's a pretty smart fighter. With this being said, he had a very low KO record. I actually put it on the Facebook page when doing our Tale of the Tape. He was about, I want to say 20-0 or 20-1 with only about 8 knockouts. And then Provodnikov had double that knockouts, and of course Provodnikov, we last saw him taking Mike Alvarado's belt and having the fight of the year against Timothy Bradley at welterweight. So initial thoughts, knockout. We don't know this guy. He seems like a dude who just kind of won the lottery in this sense, and he's going up against an animal in Provodnikov. Until you actually take a look at Algieri fight. Not a power puncher, but very accurate, constantly improving, good movement, and will box. And the one thing I noticed is he was tall and he was solid. He's 5'10" versus Provodnikov's 5'6", if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he's pretty short.
And he had about a 5-inch reach advantage on Provodnikov, which works in his favor because he should be able to stick that jab and stay out of range at least somewhat during the fight. And he had a very good left to the body. It's kind of like Timothy Bradley, who doesn't really knock people out or have that power upstairs, but once he goes upstairs, especially that left hook to the body, you know it landed.
Right. My thoughts going into it were that Algieri would make a good showing of himself early and get stopped late by Provodnikov. Similar to the way Mike Alvarado did. I didn't think he would have enough pop to hold off Provodnikov going in. And then I saw that he was the chief sparring partner for Brandon Rios and Marcos Maidana. I was like, wait a minute. This might be a little interesting.
That's not bad sparring partners.
No, it's not. And if you know those guys, they bring it. And from his interviews, he said, hey, Maidana, when you're sparring him, it's still a fight. He's still trying to knock you out. We all know that Maidana's a tough customer. We last saw him giving Floyd Mayweather all he could handle. So I was like, hey, you know, maybe this guy may have a chance. No. I'm going to go ahead and stick with Provodnikov. I made the pick. I think he's going to do it.
Now, the other thing you have to do is look back at Provodnikov's fight versus Bradley and Herrera.
Right. And he said that because we talked about it, and I forgot to mention it. Because I was saying, hey, Provodnikov gets outboxed pretty easily. So, you know, maybe this guy's got a shot. But I still wanted to go with Provodnikov. I was like, you know, I think he's going to get stopped and be ahead on the scorecards when it happens. That was my final answer. Now let's get into the fight itself. Algieri started out pretty well, moving, looked pretty slick in there. You knew immediately who was landing the harder punches. I mean, when Provodnikov landed, you could hear the punches. And then, with maybe about a minute or so left in the fight,
left in the round.
In the round, I'm sorry. Provodnikov dropped the hammer, hit him with a left hook, messed up Algieri's eye.
Immediately.
Yeah, immediately. I mean, you could just see the bruising immediately as soon as he got up. I mean, he knocked him into a barrel roll, for God's sake. So I was like, wow, this is going to end a lot quicker than I thought it was. Then Algieri takes the knee. I'm like, man, Provodnikov's going to get him out of here early.
But that was a smart move on Algieri's part.
Yeah. And then we had rounds 2 through 12, which were pretty amazing if you ask me, because Algieri's eye kept closing, but he was boxing very, very well. He was boxing very well. But every now and then, Provodnikov would lay in that hammer again. So, this was one of those fights that we talk about all the time, where it's, what do you prefer? Do you prefer the guy who's busier, who's landing more, he actually landed some pretty showy punches. They might not have marked up Provodnikov, but he was snapping that neck back, and he was resetting after those punches were landing. Or do you take the guy who is making visible damage, and you can hear and almost feel the shots coming when you saw Provodnikov? Let Rob chime in a little bit.
All right, so the outcome of this fight was a split decision for Algieri. You had 114, 112 on 2 scorecards, and I think 117 or 109 on the second scorecard. And guess what? They're not wrong.
Yeah, none of those cards were wrong.
It was a matter of preference. Do you take the hard shots that do damage, that have more impact, or do you take the scoring shots, which is throwing more and landing more? And these were 3 very credible judges.
Yep.
So even in their hands, you can't fault them.
Right.
But with Algieri, he did a few good things that I really liked. When he moved, he didn't stay on the ropes too long. When he moved, he always moved to his left, because that right eye was shutting quickly. I think by the 8th round, it was just completely shut. But he moved so he could keep some kind of vision, and that was to his left. And what did he do? He kept that right up as much as he could.
Yep.
He stayed out of range of Provodnikov while also keeping within range where he could land a jab and land longer punches. Now, Provodnikov made some comments before and after the fight which said, I don't like this style. I'm used to getting in there with someone who I could fight with. All well and good. And he said himself, that style is bad for me. And it's not like I'm scared of this guy, I just don't like the style. Well, guess what? You still have to win against the style. And he says he was running. From what I saw was ring generalship and movement. What is the difference? Running is putting space between you and your opponent to not set up anything, to not take any damage, to not even try to score. That's running.
Yeah.
Algieri used movement to set up his punches and deliver punishment. Let's be honest. He engaged Provodnikov throughout the majority of the fight. He landed
the entire fight.
Yeah, he landed more punches and he threw more punches. So guess what? While they may not have their impact, he was still scoring and he was still landing. And whether you think he was hurt or not, Provodnikov had snapped back quite a bit. Yeah. And he also landed that left to the body, which might have taken some wind out of Provodnikov along with the constant movement. Now, what do you want? Pressure and impact? Or do you want ring generalship and scoring or in landing? So it just depends on what you're looking for. You're not wrong either way, but where a lot of people had the problem, for what I've seen on the message boards, is that people were giving Provodnikov the fight based off damage done in the first 2 rounds.
Yeah.
You cannot do that. You score each round individually.
Yeah, we've talked about this many times on here in boxing and MMA. You can't say, oh, well, his eyes closed. Well, you saw the majority of that damage was done in round 1. And by like round 8, I mean, Algieri is pretty much boxing his head off.
With one eye.
With one eye. Also, Provodnikov started off well, but then later on failed to cut the ring off.
Mm-hmm.
He got the knockdown because he successfully cut the ring off. He was left swinging at air, or at the end, he caught Algieri at the end of his punches later on in the fight because he was failing to cut the ring off. There was no adjustment from the camp at all, not just him, but his corner, to tell him, hey, you need to cut the ring off. They did accurately tell him he needed a knockout, but they didn't really tell him how to get it. Now, to be fair, they didn't leave the camera on in the corner for the whole 60 seconds. So they might have told him. Right. And Algieri was just that skilled to not let it happen. But like Rob said, when you're scoring damage, you're only scoring damage in a 3-minute time frame. Round 1 happens, it goes away. You don't remember, oh yeah, he hurt him bad in round 1, so he's still winning here in round 6. No, round 1 is separate from round 6. And I'm going to tell you guys something. And it may hurt your feelings. It's going to come as a bombshell. But judging is not really objective. You hear us say this. In this particular fight, we both kept saying, hey, it's what you prefer. They give the judges a criteria, and based on how they feel is how they judge that criteria.
Now the only objective part is scoring it round by round.
Exactly.
It's a separate round, and then you add up the scores at the end. That is the rules. You go by that criteria, and you go by that rules. That's the only objective, standardized part that goes with scoring a fight.
Exactly. Now, as far as what goes on in those rounds, I mean, it's in the name, judgment. That is a completely biased word in itself. Yes, they're judging on how they feel. So, one of the judges felt that Provodnikov's punches scored more than Algieri's work and ring generalship. They thought that Provodnikov always coming forward was his ring generalship. The other 2 judges thought that Algieri turning and providing angles, constantly keeping something in Provodnikov's face, and occasionally snapping his head back and landing some hard shots was more effective than Provodnikov landing a bomb every 30 seconds or so. So there you go. You've been enlightened. There's no such thing as objective judging. Sorry to break that to you like that. But now that you know, use it and learn from it. And the next time a decision doesn't go your way, or the way you want it to go, don't be upset. They just don't agree with you. It's okay. The world keeps going. They're still getting paid. Everything's going to be all right.
Now, I will say, the aftermath, you don't agree with that. There is a video that we did about judging and what it takes to be a judge and what you have to go through. They do review it, so if you can, we'll put that, if you want, we'll put the link to that video in the description.
Yeah, you're going to have to remind me to do that.
Now, where did they go from here? Well, Algieri is trying to get his fights now because he doesn't plan on boxing but for so much longer. And Star Boxing, which is his promoter, did a great job of getting him this fight and getting him quality fights to this point. So where does he go? You could take a big money fight versus, say, Danny Garcia at 140. You know, could he go against Broner or Matisse? Sky's the limit. Just keep in mind, versus Garcia, I'm reminded of the Garcia Herrera fight, so that would again be an interesting fight.
Yeah, and Provodnikov has a rematch clause. He may exercise that rematch clause. That means they'd have to fight again, which actually the onus would be on Provodnikov to improve to make that different. He wants it in a neutral area. He feels that the crowd may have had a little bit of a sway in how the judges scored the fight. The crowd was pro-Algieri. They chanted for him a lot. They cheered when he landed punches. And hey, it might have affected the judges. But he still has to put rounds in the bank. I mean, I was talking to guys at the gym, and even casual fans who come in were saying, hey, Provodnikov, he's a great, entertaining guy, but he has no jab. How can he really set things up if he has no jab? Now, if those guys know that, he's got to know it. So that's one of the things he's got to add. He's got to properly cut the ring off for 12 rounds. He's got to work in the middle of the ring. Got to. He did absolutely nothing in the middle of the ring in this fight. And I think that's where Algieri won it. So his most likely next fight will be against Algieri again. If not, I'm not really sure who he's going to fight. He's with Artie Paludo, correct?
Yes.
He's not necessarily tied to top rank. I think this might have... No, they had top ranked people in the ring. This is a top ranked promoted card, even though I think they have options on Provodnikov. All that business stuff.
It's neither here nor there right now.
Yeah. That's really it, guys. That's all I got. You got anything before we cut out?
The undercard had Demetrius Boo Andre defending his belt versus Brian Rose. Completely dominated him. I would love to see him versus any other top 10 fighter in the 154 division, whether it be Mayweather, whether it be the Charlo brothers. You got Kirkland, Canelo, Lara, Trout. Plenty of options. I'm just waiting to see these guys fight each other.
It's a great division between 140 and 154. There's so many fighters, so many matchups. We can dream. That's it, guys. Thanks for watching this video. Hope you liked it. If you did, you can click the like button. You can click the share button. If you have anything to say, you can use the comment section. Follow us on Facebook, Capital of Combat. You can hit us up on Google Plus as well, same name. You can hit us up in the email, capitalcombat@gmail.com. Like I said, we got the comment section below. Keep it respectful. If you disagree, I know a lot of people are going to be upset and disagree with some of the things we said in this video. And we will gladly talk with you. But like I said, keep it respectful, because we're not going to disrespect you. You're not going to disrespect us. And don't disrespect anybody who makes a comment.
That's right.
We don't play that crap. So that's it, guys. Catch you guys in the next video. Peace.
This is round one, and you've already lost. They don't seem to see that everything we've done is coming and cost. My fists are on fire. I perform till I perspire. My demons are in a rage. Keep thinking that it's a game. I kick crime, hurricane. I told them I don't play. I'm liquid.
Black Street Fighter.